So our first lightning talk speaker will be John Richardson from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, talking about developing a mobile UI for electronic health records using Knockout and jQuery Mobile.
Yeah, in case anyone couldn't guess, that's where we're from, is the University of Wisconsin with a nice big splash page. So yeah, we're myself and Daniel here are both from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and we'll talk about that. So first we'll talk a little bit about the purpose and the goals of the project that we tried to do, then kind of go into some of the architecture choices that we made, how it works, some challenges, and no questions because we were just told that wasn't. So a little bit about the organization we work for. It's the University of Wisconsin-Madison. You can see some of the numbers there. It's a fairly large university in a relatively small town, 200,000 people. So you can see that actually takes up a good deal of the 200,000 people. It's a very heavily research-focused university, and we specifically work at the Primate Center in the UW, which their mission is to support the health of both primates and all primates, both human and non-human primates, through the study of non-human primates. And it's actually one of 8 federally supported primate centers. There's a couple others here as well if you walk around. And we support about 1,400 animals. And to support those animals, we developed an application called EHR, or specifically Ben Bimber and the crowd developed it. And it's kind of a medical record system built on LabKey. It's built as a module of LabKey. And it supports both the animal care and the research. Like usually LabKey is like focused on the kind of the research and the study data. This also helps us put in like the daily day-to-day care of the animals, just like a human medical record, as well as like housing, transfers, things like that. And it's used by the other primates, some of the other primate centers. Right now it's used by the Oregon Primate Center. It's soon to be used by Southwest as well. And so we're not the only ones using it. We have 2 basic types of users. We have the desktop users, which are kind of your traditional LabKey users, which are researchers and data entry staff sitting at a desk in front of a large screen with a keyboard. However, we also have a large group of animal care staff who are actually on the floor with the animals, and they're trying to interact with LabKey using iPads and oftentimes with barely any hands because they're trying to do things with the animals, and it's very hard to do that, as well as hold and type. And in addition, they were always wearing large amounts of PPE, like multiple sets of gloves, face shields, things. So it can be very difficult to interact with certain UIs. And so we really had this need for this mobile application. Some of the goals were, because we couldn't use a keyboard, because everything had to be sterile, we really wanted to reduce the amount of typing that people had to do. So really focusing on touch taps rather than typing, try to reduce the scrolling, make sure that everything was nice and big, because it's very hard to hit some of those buttons when you have really, really big gloves on. For me, it's hard to hit them without the gloves, but the gloves make it even worse. And then some other things about like supporting some of our older generation equipment. A little bit about the architecture choice that we went with. We had first thought about just doing some CSS and JavaScript and throwing that on our pages and making everything reassemble look a little prettier on the page. However, that quickly became infeasible. It just didn't work. It's a very table-based layout. CSS, as much CSS as you want to write, it's really not going to rearrange it enough. We also looked at making a native application, which looked really cool. It was going to be like fast. We could do anything we want. We could use device features like the camera. We could do scanning barcodes with that. It was like really exciting. However, it also became like very infeasible. We were going to have to start from scratch, write everything we needed. It was going to be very hard to use the existing LabKey client APIs. So it was basically starting from ground zero, which with a 2-man development team really wasn't feasible if we wanted to actually get other things done. And then we also thought about just doing like mobile versions of each page, detecting the user agent and redirecting on certain pages to a mobile version. But that just didn't, it was really cool because we could reuse all the code we'd written for the desktop pages, all that JavaScript. However, it just got to be very janky, and it wasn't very pretty and didn't really give us any true advantages. It just kind of was a solution. So what we ended up going with was a static single-page app served out of LabKey. Because it's served out of LabKey and it's a web page, it gives us that code reuse again. We can write stuff for the mobile app and then use it in the desktop, or vice versa. It also gives us access to the LabKey client API, which means we can use things like labkey.query.selectRows and things like that, rather than having to try to interact with the HTTP interface, which is a little harder to work with. It's also tracked in the main key LabKey repository, which is great for anybody here who might want to use it. It's available to anyone. Anyone else would be able to add to it if we wanted to. So it's just a lot more shareable, especially with the other primate centers, which was kind of more of the original idea. It's also phone gap compatible if you're ever familiar with that, but that's it just means we can compile it into a native app for the phone if we ever wanted to. It's very fast too. All the load time is up front because it's a single page app. After that, it's just very quick AJAX requests. So we don't have large page load times as we're navigating around. To kind of make this work, we use a lot of open source libraries, which you can see there. We're going a little bit more detail in just a second. They're all released under the MIT license, which is kind of important because they're all open source. They're also really popular, which means other people are fixing bugs in them, so you don't tend to hit very many bugs in them. It's kind of handled for you. And most importantly, it saves lots of code, especially CSS, because if there's anyone here who likes writing CSS, I'd like to meet them because I don't believe you. So it was really nice to not have to write, probably I wrote maybe 20 lines of CSS and let jQuery Mobile take care of the rest. And then it's already cross-device. jQuery Mobile and all the other libraries take care of the cross-device and cross-browser issues, so I don't have to worry about those. jQuery Mobile is pretty much just handles the UI. You can see right there, it just makes pages look mobile. It takes the normal HTML and makes things look mobile-y. It also comes with this online application called Theme Roller, which is awesome. You just go there and you drag and drop the colors you want onto the screen, and it gives you a giant CSS file that are your themes, and you can make multiple themes. And that's really cool because, again, no writing CSS. Then there was also Knockout, which is really just binding things to the page as well as allowing to make a little bit more dynamic of data models. So that's pretty cool. And the last part was Require.js, which really isn't that pretty. It's a low-level thing. It doesn't have a UI or anything, but it's really cool. There's no evidence that it's cool from a picture. So, but it allows us to do dynamic loading of modules and also dependency tracking, which normally is not available in JavaScript. So, kind of how it works is you can see how the page looks right here. jQuery Mobile gives us basically everything that you're seeing, especially like the toolbars at the top and the bottom, which stick around when you're scrolling. Because it is a page and I'm an admin, you do get the little thing in the bottom right-hand corner, but whatever. And here I just wanted to quickly show the HTML for the main page, just to show you how short it is. Like, I didn't have to write much. The libraries took care of almost everything. So it was a very, very short amount of code to actually get up and running, which also means less to maintain and debug later. You can kind of see that we have like this centerpiece is the main code. We write individual pages that are composed of just a short HTML page and a corresponding JavaScript view model that it loads in dynamically as it needs them. And it uses the normal browser history API so that you can go back and forward. And even though it's a single page app, it feels like you're just navigating around a website. And it means you can direct link to various content. So yeah, there's the HTML and the view model. Some of the challenges we got into, one was the authentication. One of the big ones is we kept on getting the basic authentication suggestion, which if you see that in the browser, if you've been on a LabKey page for too long and it does an AJAX request, it gives you this pop-up, which we didn't want for two reasons. One, it causes, it was just kind of ugly, and it kind of throws you off when you're in a workflow. And second of all, we didn't want it accidentally caching end users' credentials because we have people sharing iPads. One user might be using it before lunch, and then they switch who has who's for the afternoon. We don't want someone accidentally entering the data from someone else at night just because it cached their password and automatically logged them in. And then we were able to do that with this X unauthorized, which is actually supported by LabKey, so we didn't actually have to do anything. We originally thought we were going to have to write core code, but then we didn't, so it's already there. And then we also had to access the LabKey client API, which wasn't as easy because we weren't using views, so we couldn't just include a template to access it. So what we ended up doing is creating a special view that basically just compiles the list of tags for all the client APIs, inserts them into the page dynamically when you log in, And so we have access to all the LabKey stuff, and we can use that on other devices like the native applications if we compile that, which is just really cool and saves a lot of time. And I guess I actually got through that pretty quickly. So yeah, I have some, if you download the slides or something, I have some information there. My email address. Please don't sign me up for too many spam things. But if you have any questions, come find us, and we have iPad and things to show you if you want to actually like play around with it or look at it. It's still kind of in its early stages, but it works. So, and then although I did put that it's in LabKey repository, it's not yet, but I'll check it in probably in the next couple weeks, and then so anyone can be able to look at it.